Oh, there you are.
When come in the waiting room, we'd ask everyone to please mute yourselves. Good afternoon. This is a hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Friday, August 14th. This is an emergency informational hearing regarding licensees holding club licenses, veterans licenses, or temporary CV licenses. Today's hearing is being recorded and is being conducted pursuant to temporary modifications of the open meeting law due to the COVID-19 public health emergency. The vast majority of licensees in the City of Boston are working diligently to adapt to the changing guidance and provide a safe dining experience for patrons. Given the governor's recent updated guidance, we thought that it would be an appropriate time to bring all of these licensees together to have a conversation about how these new regulations impact your license and your operations, as well as to answer any questions you may have. And now I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today. I wanted to take a minute and introduce the members of my staff and my fellow commissioners that have joined us today. You've just met Leslie Delaney Hawkins, who's our Executive Secretary and General Counsel. Also on the call today is Rebecca Fu, who works with us in the office every day, and she's here to answer questions, as well as she's available by phone and email, and Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran. We're also joined by Lieutenant Troy of the Licensed Premise Unit.
Today's hearing is really meant to answer questions and to help. So I'll provide a brief overview of the changes to the most recent regulations, although it is every licensee's responsibility to review the governor's information, the recent regulations issued by the governor. The board has received numerous questions from most of you licensees who fall into this category regarding your ability to operate with either your existing license or the temporary CV license issued by the board. We've reached out to the state for additional guidance on what exactly qualifies as food prepared on site. We're also working closely with ISD to address these issues. As you know, the governor updated his executive order and, among other things, required that food should be plated meals served to the table, and that the licensee must ensure that there is food served with the alcohol. The governor's guidance made clear that potato chips, pretzels, and other prepackaged or manufactured food do not constitute food prepared on site. Licensees must ensure that masks are worn at all times when the patron is not seated at the table and that social distancing is observed. A licensee wishing to host a party or private event must now adhere to the indoor-outdoor guidance. That means that the maximum number of individuals outdoors is 50, indoors is 25, and that is only if you are holding a special event. Ultimately, the question that we've received from most of you is whether or not what you're offering constitutes as prepared food. At this time, we don't have all of the guidance that we would like to share with you. These rules and regulations are coming from the state with the intent to ensure that the uptick in numbers of positive cases is stopped. However, we are reaching out to the state to seek more clarification. If after reviewing the rules and regulations, you do not feel that you currently comply, we would suggest that you close down temporarily while we work with you to ensure that you do comply. We want to emphasize that we know that you are seeking to serve food with alcoholic beverages, and while we are not policing you and will not be shutting you down, we do know that the state is very actively investigating licensees. With that, again, we want this to be a conversation. We appreciate your time, and we are here to answer every question. If we don't have an answer for you today, please be sure that we're working on it round the clock. When the new regulations came out last Friday, it was just as a surprise to this board as it was to all of our licensees.
Thank you, Leslie. I'll just add that I want to reassure everyone that the guidelines have not been put out to be punitive in any way. Public health metrics have really guided them. And the idea is that they're trying to prevent gathering and congregating. That's why seating in a bar is not allowed. And that is why food is mandatory now when you order drinks. They don't want people coming into your establishment, your private club, and sitting down and just having rounds of drinks for hours after hours. So if there's specific questions about how you're operating, we're happy to take them now. You can email us. I'm sorry, there's some questions that just came in the chat.
Can the 50 outside be combined with the 25 inside? That is a good question. I would say yes, but you would have to very actively, obviously, police people moving from inside to outside. Kathleen, would you agree?
I would agree. If your outside space can hold 50 people with social distancing followed, tables 6 feet away, and only 6 people at a table, you should be able to move forward with operating like that, as well as the social guidelines for inside. But please remember, people have to be sitting down at a table.
And no one can approach the bar. Another question is, if we open our bar and sell takeout to raise some money at the American Legion, what is our capacity? So there's no limit on capacity outside of the special events, but individuals must be seated unless they're just coming in to pick up food, and they must be wearing masks and socially distanced. What about clubs that do not have a food service permit issued by ISD? If you fall into that category, you may have been working with the board in order to obtain a temporary CV license. If you have not done that, we can have that conversation separately, but that is one of the questions that we're working on right now. A lot of these clubs have longstanding kitchens, but that have never actually been inspected by ISD. And so moving forward, this may require additional inspections.
We're looking for the same answers you're looking for. We're trying to be helpful and help you reopen and operate in a safe manner. So what we've done up until this point was to help you guys get back on your feet. We're not certain that we can continue to operate this way due to the governor's recent guidelines. And no, patrons cannot approach the bar to order. I'm sorry, why don't we just go through these questions? They're coming at us quickly. I'll let you lead, Leslie.
Okay. What about clubs that don't have food service? Can patrons approach the bar? As Kathleen just said, they cannot. Has any forward thought been given to extensions of existing license issued for 2020? Oh, I'm sorry. Brian, that question, do you mean the temporary extensions onto outdoor area? Sorry, Brian's, no. So I'm sorry, I'm unclear about what the extension is.
I'm asking specifically about our 2020 club alcohol license. We don't have, I'm referencing the Polish American Political Club in Hyde Park. We do not have food service. We cannot open. The requirements for the outdoor seating are rather cumbersome for a complete volunteer board. So I'm trying to determine whether or not the board would think about extending the license for you. I mean, we haven't been able to use it since we've been closed we closed actually the Friday before. I think the city closed down on that Monday. So I think that was around the 12th or 13th of March.
So this also hits on annual renewals. We do not legally have that ability. The annual renewal process and the fact that your license has to be renewed by the last business day in November is statutory. It exists at the state level and has not been waived and has not been extended. We are legally required to ensure that you renew in November for the following year and that you pay the fee. We under the law, we don't have the ability to waive that.
Brian, we have, lots of people have asked us about that. We have shared those questions with people in the administration, but we can't unilaterally just decide not to collect a fee.
Can I just follow up with a couple of, well, first of all, thank you. I think this is long overdue, to be honest with you, so I appreciate the licensing board doing this. But yeah, so I had asked about the renewal fees, but I mean, how can I renew? Because I can't get a site cleanliness fee. I can't get a site cleanliness permit. I can't have my certificate of inspection because we're not open. I don't have any revenue coming in to be able to afford those fees. I mean, effectively, I understand it's nobody's fault, but I think these are things that need to be thought out and considered, because it would be a shame to put some of these longstanding private clubs. They're doing nothing wrong, especially the veterans clubs. They're across the city. I see many people on here that I know personally. I really think, again, not blaming anybody for COVID, but I really think the board needs to or the mayor needs to petition the governor to, give these things consideration. I mean, we're paying real estate taxes. We're not nonprofit. We do not have that revenue, and we have no place to turn for it. And it's you're going to end up with vacant buildings in the city. And trust me, as a former 20-year employee of the city of Boston, I know the city doesn't want that, and we're losing all these tax dollars. So I just feel compelled to get that on the record.
Thank you, Brian, and I appreciate that. And I know there's other people on the call that are in the same situation. Would you mind sending the licensing board an email describing what you were describing to us? The more information we have, we can't just guess at what your issues are, but you're going to help us build the case to see if we can get some other changes done. So we'll take that information and we'll have more conversations. But why don't you send us an email? If there's anything we can do as a city, we will. And we'll take a look at how we can be helpful to you.
And just to follow up on the chairwoman's comments, we have raised this. We've raised this both with internally in the mayor's administration, but also with the state. So it is something that we've been actively talking about and discussing. We received a question, and I'm sorry, it was sent to me privately. I apologize, I must have skipped over it. An inside event for 25 people needs 3,750 square feet. Kathleen, I believe we had addressed this on the previous call. Our interpretation is that the 8 patrons for 1,000 square feet is, we believe that doesn't apply here. That if you're having an indoor event and you can seat with socially distanced tables, 6 individuals to a party, that 25 is the maximum that you can have.
If you're operating as a restaurant. So again, the guidelines that we are trying to interpret are the restaurant and special event guidelines. So if you're if your event is operating as a restaurant, I would be inclined to use the restaurant guidelines, which would be 25 people inside. Again, if you want to give us more specifics in email, we can take a closer look at it and work with you. Those initial guidelines by one person for every whatever the square 1,000 feet it was, I believe those were for larger venues that were trying to open and have events.
I believe I just saw someone raise their hand.
Yes, it was me. The Carter Post, the American Legion. So we have a question. We need to be able to raise some funds. So we were thinking about, because our kitchen is licensed as a restaurant to do sales. So, but if we're limited just to the 25 on the inside and sitting down to do the food and the bar, how can we're trying to be able to do like some takeout sales. So if we do it as if they come in and take and go, if there's 25 on the inside, can we still do that and not have an issue? Because we don't have enough space outside to say we have outside seating,
Just to be clear, the 25 inside is only triggered if you're having a special event. So if you open and you're open to the public for individuals to come in and dine, the 25 does not impact you. What you have to adhere to are the restaurant requirements. So parties of 6 maximum, 6 feet between tables. So there's no cap. There's no cap other than social distancing capacity if you're operating as a restaurant open to the public.
But food has to be prepared on site. It's unclear if catering is permitted. Unless that's changed, Leslie.
No.
Right, but with us, our kitchen is ISD approved. We're licensed, so it would be on site. Our kitchen is on site cooking, so it's not catered or anything like that. So that's why we just needed to.
But would you be operating as a restaurant? Again, these guidelines have been put together with the public health metrics in mind. So you can't have 100. Like private events have different rules and regulations because they don't want people lingering and clustering for 4 hours, having a couple of appetizers and drinking.
Right.
And the reason behind that is they think the longer you are together inside, the more likely it is the virus will pass from person to person. So you have to be operating as a true restaurant.
Okay.
That plan would have to be approved by this board.
Okay.
And we would have to have discussions with our public health advisors.
Okay.
It's not a question. We can't answer that unilaterally.
Okay.
We're trying to help you. If we read the guidelines strictly, you wouldn't be able to open because you're not a restaurant. But we're going to try to help you. So we just need you to submit a written plan to us and we'll work on it with you.
Okay.
So someone said, if you have a temporary CV license now, can you apply for a permanent in November? You absolutely can. However, as the chairwoman said, we've been very, very flexible with how these have been issued, because a lot of your kitchens, we kind of look, ISD looks the other way, right? They know that you have food, but you've never actually applied. So if you do apply for for a permanent CV, you're going to have to undergo the entire inspection process. These temporary CVs were issued to help you open and get back up on your feet. And it's our understanding that at the state level, people might not be thrilled that that's the way the city has done this, but the mayor and the chairwoman in this board felt that it was important to help all of you get open and provide a dining opportunity for people in your community. Hot dog machines are considered food on site in crock pots? That is a great question, and that is one of the specific questions we've asked the state. We do not have an answer, and we know that that's frustrating, and we're frustrated with you. Obviously, the goal of the governor's new guidance is to ensure public health and public safety, and the city obviously shares that. So we don't have that answer yet. We're working on that.
Another question about hot dog rollers, we just don't know.
And again, if you have an idea, if you have a proposal, bring it to the board. We may not be able to say, yes, this complies, but we're here as a resource. We're working around the clock. Many of you have probably gotten emails in the middle of the night from Rebecca on our team. We're doing everything we can to be helpful, and we wish we had all the answers. We just don't. These hearings are actually scheduled before the governor's new guidance came out, just to continue this discussion about health and safety. We did not know that the announcement on Friday was forthcoming.
And again, those plans you submit to us, we will be going over them with Boston Public Health Liaison, who works with our board, and we'll give you whatever feedback we get from them.
And I'm putting in the chat the email for the licensing board, so feel free to reach out.
And it's my understanding, anecdotally, we heard that in other parts of the state, not necessarily in Boston, some of these private clubs were operating as full bars with people just sitting at the bar for hours and hours. And that is why some of these restrictions came down about kitchens and on-site preparation. So that is definitely frowned upon and will be enforced. And there are inspections. So keep that in mind. If you know of other clubs that are operating and they shouldn't be operating, that is where some of these additional restrictions came from. The idea is to let places open up for food and beverage, not for happy hours and not for strictly drinking.
And we just received a question about our tables off the bar. Does that allow patrons to sit there? Kathleen is much more articulate on this point than I am.
So if you extend your bar by using tables as extensions, make them perpendicular to the bar, and people are sitting there for food and for drinking, that is fine, but they cannot be served from behind the bar. The bartender or the food server has to come out from behind the bar and serve them from the restaurant side. And the reason is the bar is not wide enough for social distancing, and you'll see some places, I've been into some places, we've done some inspections and they've been very successful with it. So keep that in mind. It wasn't clear in the first round of guidelines that whether or not a server could serve them from behind the bar, but they cannot. They have to come out from behind the bar, walk around into the restaurant and serve them as a table. And there could be no entertainment, no games, no pool tables, no darts. I'm not sure what other games you might have, but no bocce courts.
Spades at the table, card playing.
They have to be eating.
They have to be eating. So, sorry, thank you, Chairwoman. So another question here at the American Legion. Our bar is about 2.5 to 3 feet deep, and we were going to put up sneeze protectors so they could at least walk up in order and then go back to their tables, and then we would serve them that way. So that's part of the plan that I'm typing up. So I'm just wondering, so if that works, then I'll continue with that in our plan that I want to send in, but just ask.
Thank you. I don't know. That wasn't spelled out, so it would have to be something I would go over with public health.
Okay. All right, thank you.
They're trying to reduce people congregating and gathering. So again, tables set up just for cards would be prohibited.
Okay.
And people going up and getting drink. A bartender can't serve people from a bar, and there's I haven't seen any exception for plexiglass to do so. They want people to be served. They want to control the number of people going and waiting in line and lingering together. So probably best to have a server assigned to the tables to get food and beverage orders and then to deliver them. Again, I don't even know if this is plausible with the way you're licensed, but we're willing to work with you to see if it is. Rebecca, do you want to talk a little bit about the entertainment? I see a lot of questions coming in about what is and what isn't allowed.
Can you guys mute? So for indoors right now, you are only permitted to have background music and TVs if you have an annual entertainment license for that. There's no live entertainment of any sort permitted right now, no trivia. For outdoors, if you have a previously licensed patio that has a condition that you're approved for background music on your patio, you may have it. If you want to apply for the patio, that for music outside, we're not granting anything new to the temporary extensions at this time.
And one of the things the governor's guidance has been very clear about, and that the chairwoman touched on, anything ancillary to dining is prohibited. So as Rebecca said, trivia, pool, darts, stages, anything ancillary. The real purpose of reopening is to provide a dining experience, seated at tables with table service.
Colby had a question in the chat about submitting a plan. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Is this in order to reopen in general or to add stuff?
If you're looking to reopen and you're not sure if you comply with the governor's guidance because you don't have an annual either CV or health permit from ISD for food prepared on site, then please do submit a plan to us, and we will review it. As the chairwoman said, we'll review it with public health and with ISD.
I'm sorry, Leslie, can I ask Rebecca another question? I'm sorry. It's the American Legion. Sorry, Rebecca, if we have, because we have a few dates, people are calling and asking us like for a small baby shower or a small birthday party, what would our numbers be on something like that?
Since that's for an event, it would be 25 maximum inside, including staff.
And everyone would have to be seated at tables separated by 6 feet socially. Maximum number of parties per table is 6. I know there was a question in the chat, can there be live entertainment if it is a private event? Rebecca answered this, thank you, Rebecca, but I want to emphasize, can there be live entertainment if it's a private event? Absolutely no live entertainment inside.
Feel free to continue to reach out to us. We're here to help you. There's Leslie and Rebecca and I have access to the email, the licensing board email. We will get back to you as soon as we can. If we don't have answers, we'll try to find you that answer as quickly as possible. We are looking for ways to help you operate and reopen, but it has to be done within the state guidelines. It has to be done safely. So we'll work with you to see if that's possible.
I don't know. How do we get on?
Well, we greatly appreciate everything that you've been doing to date, trying to work with us, and we look forward to continuing working with you. As the chairwoman said, please feel free to email us or call with any questions, and we'll get back to you.
Hi, my name is Patty. I'm from the Boston Police Post 1018. And I just had a question on that number. I did get a temporary license. I am preparing food in the kitchen and serving. The 25, do I stay at 25 for my club? Or I was 35 until the governor changed it last week to 25. So I pulled the table and I'm only seating 20 right now. Can I go to 25? Can I go to 35 or?
Is it for a private event?
No.
Or are you operating as a restaurant?
As a restaurant, yeah.
Again, we're looking for a little bit more guidance on that because it's not clear if that's even permitted right now under the guidelines.
Okay.
But if your restaurant guidelines don't have a maximum capacity, it's just 6 tables 6 feet apart and no more than 6 feet at a table. The outstanding question in your situation is whether or not your private club can operate as a restaurant.
Okay.
And
So I don't really have a good answer for that. I'm hoping to get touch base with our staff and we'll let us know when you plan to start operating. We'll try to get an answer for you by then.
Okay.
Thank you. We received a question in the chat that Rebecca answered, but I want to emphasize, if you have a members only club with no food, less than 25 people, can you open? No, you must have food service and food must be ordered with the first drink order. You cannot order alcohol until you have ordered food.
Mm-hmm. So I'm doing that. I have an area roped off that I'm like directing them to a table where I'm asking them to sign in. And then I have a menu slip. You know, I have my menu right there. I'm asking them to order their food and then they go and sit. And then I have a server going over and asking them if they'd like to have a drink. So.
Why don't you send that plan to us in writing?
Okay.
It can be really simple, and we'll work with you.
Okay. Thank you.
We received another question. Can we show a movie with social distancing after a dinner? We are a private club, tavern club. I would say probably not. The purpose of reopening is to provide dining. It's not to allow people to linger or congregate. And I would say that showing a movie, it does not go with the intent of the guidance. Kathleen, would you agree?
I would agree, yeah. That's why there's different numbers, smaller numbers for private events inside in a restaurant that is even shut down to everybody else, because typical dining service, I think, could be estimated at maybe 90 minutes, whereas a special event or a movie would be longer than that. A wedding is longer than that. A small bridal shower is longer than that. So there are different rules for that.
And we had a question, can a recording of this meeting be provided to us? Absolutely. This hearing will be posted to the licensing board's website within about 24 hours, but at the very least by Monday.
And you can call us anytime if your business model changes and you think you might be able to operate safely within the guidelines. We will take it under consideration and talk to public health.
And we know that you probably have members who are pushing back on these restrictions, and we're happy. Ask us a question. We're happy to send you an email that you could print out and post explaining exactly what the rules and regulations are. We know that everyone's trying to do their best. All right, so thank you all. We really appreciate you taking the time. Again, the licensing board is here as a resource, and please feel free to email or call us with any questions and with your proposed reopening plans.
Can I ask one question? Can you mail out to the Bunker Hill Knights of Columbus the guidelines print out, which would really be happy, make my membership understand what's going on?
In the mail? Yes.
Okay, great. I just, you want my email, or you probably have it, right? I've been communicating with Kath a little bit, so.
Okay, well,
what's your first name? We just see a phone number, just so we address it to the right person.
Tom.
Okay.
Cunis, UNHA. You have it, I think.
Oh, there you are, Tom. Okay. Thank you.
I just, if I get a copy of it, then I can do exactly what you said. I can print it out, hang it on my membership, and so I don't have a fist fight every time them into the club, you know?
I understand. So email's okay, Tom?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we want me to give you my email, or?
Sure, we'll take
All right.
it.
All right, my email is tomcuna it's C-U-N-H-A @comcast.net.
Okay, and to piggyback on what Tom just said, we realize the operators and the managers are really trying their best to operate within the guidelines. We understand that members may push back. We understand that neighbors and members of the public might hear what's going on inside your club that you don't have control over, and they are emailing, they're calling the police. So we understand that we want to educate you and help you educate your members and help you operate safely. So we're not here we're not here in an enforcement capacity. We're really here as to educate you, to share what we know. Again, we don't have all the answers, but we'll work really hard to get you the answers to any specific questions you may have.
Thank you. You guys have been very helpful the last couple of months. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Rebecca just put a note in the chat. If you would like the guidelines, please email licensingboard@boston.gov and we'll get them along.
And yes, someone just asked from an iPad, have the guidelines changed since June 19th? Yes, they have. So you should check the state website and check our website too, but reach out to us directly. We'll make sure you get a copy of them.
All right, thank you all very much. This is not obviously the end of the conversation. We hope to have more guidance for you in the coming days.
Thank you.
Thank you.